Coming up on today's show.
The amount of water that goes over Niagara Falls in 1 minute.
Oh,
I mean, it was unbelievable, the amount of water that really hit the Houston area and the damage that was done as a result.
So let's go over what are some of the things you know you want to take with you that you can't afford to lose.
But usually what I find is people know where their most important documents are, so we just simply put this all together.
How to prepare for an emergency today on Keeping You Organized. Hello and welcome to Keeping You Organized. You know, this fall there were a lot of emergencies and disasters all over the world, but we had several that hit right here in the United States. And who cannot forget Hurricane Harvey? And when it made landfall, actually a few days before Hurricane Harvey, you know, we tracked that thing for about 7 or 8 days. And I remember, oh boy, this thing looks like it's going right towards the Houston area. And who do we have down in Houston? Our own Ellen DeLapp. Ellen, welcome to Keeping You Organized.
Well, thank you for having me, John. I really appreciate the opportunity to chat with you.
Yeah. Do you remember now about 3 or 4 days before the hurricane hit, I sent you an email. I go, are you guys ready for this? And you thought, well, maybe we'll have a little bit of rain. Tell me about what it was like, 2 or 3 days before it hit landfall.
You know, it's really funny because I think all of us are such optimists that we were like, oh, we'll just kind of ride it out. You know, we do our typical storm preparations here. We get extra gas in our cars. We load up gas cans for our generators. We get bottled water. So I think we were being very optimistic about the potential for such a significant event in our community.
But don't you think too, I mean, we haven't seen anything like this for what, like 100 years or something? I mean, and it was a big event. And so, I mean, you can only prepare so much. And I think with Harvey, and you correct me if I'm wrong on this, but one of the things about Harvey was it just didn't blow through. It kind of hung around for a while, right?
Exactly. It really had an unusual track. It actually tracked much differently than most hurricanes, where it goes to the north. It actually swung slightly to the north, then back down along the coast, reformed as a hurricane, and significantly impacted Houston, Beaumont, and continuing on to the east. So yes, I think even though we were very vigilant about our weather, it really was different than most storms.
Well, and I think one of the stats I saw was like 50 inches of rainfall. I mean, that's pretty significant.
You know, the equivalent of that is the amount of water that goes over Niagara Falls in 1 minute.
Oh,
I mean, it was unbelievable, the amount of water that really hit the Houston area and the damage that was done as a result.
Now, how about your neighborhood? I know when we emailed once earlier in the storm, you said it was a couple blocks away, but you know the floodwaters kept rising. How close did it get to your house?
I'm very fortunate. We live on what's a slight knoll, we've decided. But about 2 blocks from us, there were houses that had 2 to 3 feet of water in them. It was very significant, the impact and the damage that's done by floods.
Yeah, and you know, almost immediately it went over to the east. It kind of blew through New Orleans or Louisiana, and then over to Florida, and then the other Florida storm came in. All of a sudden, we hardly hear about Hurricane Harvey anymore. How, we're recording this in November, which is a couple months later. What's been the impact and kind of what's happening right now?
Well, really, our community was significantly damaged. I live in Kingwood, Texas, which is a northeast suburb of Houston. And the floods actually were so significant that right now we're still rebuilding some of the grocery stores that had 8 to 10 feet of water in them. The homes in our community, people are being really persistent about working through some of the challenges. The homes in our community, after 12 weeks, some of them have walls again on their first floor. You can imagine the devastation of taking out your entire first floor and seriously putting it in a dumpster. That means your master bedroom, your master bathroom, your kitchen, your living room, a lot of electronics, a lot of appliances. It's really significant, the kind of damage, and it really takes time to get back all of those pieces of your home. And so people are working very hard and trying to stay very positive about the long-term effects of this devastating storm.
Well, and I think I read somewhere about $200 billion worth of damage, and they're probably still counting as well. I mean, it's the scale of this thing. Just it's probably more than we can really even imagine. I mean, I still have images of the people that drove up with their jet skis and their boats just to
Yeah.
go in and rescue people. And I thought, what a great way to bring a community together too.
Rest. And I have to say, that is one of the most amazing parts of this whole challenge of the storm is the way people pulled together. There's such a significant amount of damage, but those of us who were blessed not to be damaged, immediately we went out and were helping people pull things out of their houses, bring food to people who needed it, offer lodging. We had a young family living with us with two small children and their dog. So there's a lot of people that are still displaced because honestly, you can't live in a part of your home that has no bathrooms. And so there's a lot of people that are still working through the damages.
Yeah, and hundreds of homes too. So I mean, it is someone here at our work has a relative down in right off the Padre Island there, and they ended up having to buy an RV, and they're still living in the
Yeah.
RV right now because the whole north part of the island there just got devastated, and they're just now getting back in. I mean, it's pretty bad.
That's actually pretty common here in Kingwood too. There's people that have RVs in their driveway and a dumpster.
Yeah.
So it truly is. And the number of cars that were damaged, I think the unprecedented flooding was also hard for people to understand how many cars that were damaged as a result.
Yeah, and where does all this garbage go? You have everyone has a dumpster. I mean, I can't imagine where it's all piling up, but
Yeah.
that might be a topic for another podcast, how to organize the trash removal from an emergency. But anyway, well, let's talk a little bit about this, because let's just say that we know from history that disasters hit regularly. We don't know when or how. How do we prepare for an emergency and have a little peace of mind?
Yeah, I think now is the time. I think all of us have started to realize that emergencies don't occur as infrequently as they used to. And so this is a great time to get prepared. I think one of the first things is creating a home inventory and thinking about either a video or photos and just a list of all the belongings that you have. And just a very simple list of where did you buy it, when did you buy it, how much it cost, and a specific, if you bought it in a certain location, like a certain store. Another thing is to gather all your papers. And I'm really excited that Smead has a product that helps us do that, which is the important documents, not only the things like your will and power of attorney, but also things that have to do with your taxes, your mortgage, financial documents. On my website at professional-organizer.com, I have a list of important papers that you should gather,
Great.
whether you're going to be staying in your home or whether you're going to be leaving your home. In other years, they encouraged people to actually evacuate. That was not the case in Houston, that they asked us to stay in place. But still, people were leaving their homes literally with a garbage bag full of items with them. That's all they could bring on the boats that
Right.
were rescuing them. So absolutely, you want to have a small box, like the emergency preparedness box that Smead has, so it is easily fit into a carry-on that you can take with you.
Right. And also having it in a place where you know where to grab it with a short amount of
Right.
time. Now, I know with the flooding, it kind of creeps up a little bit, and that's probably traumatic as it is. When you were there and it was a couple blocks away, did you think, is this going to get closer to our house? I mean, did you have concerns that you might have to evacuate?
We were really fortunate, but I know many families, every family in Kingwood has a story about being rescued by a boat. And so it is very traumatic for people when it rained after that, because people were really traumatized by thinking about the water coming into their home. And several of my clients were rescued in the most surprising of ways and with their pets and things. So it really is something to think about, that many families unanticipated the flooding, and as a result, everyone wants to be prepared now rather than wait for an emergency to happen.
Great. Well, listen, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, I want to go over some of those categories, and we're also going to link to your website as well so people can get a hold of that list of things. So we're with Ellen DeLapp, Certified Professional Organizer from the Houston area, and talking about how to prepare for an emergency, and we'll be right back. Now, there's a place just for you. Life can be busy, and you still have to keep it all together. That's why you like to be organized and in control. Introducing MyOrganized.life, a special place where you can get ideas and solutions to organize what's important to you, your important papers, your important decisions, your important life events. We show you the ideas and products to stay organized in your life. See what's new. Stop by and say hello. Visit us at any time at www.myorganized.life. It's just for you. MyOrganized.life by Smead. Find us at www.myorganized.life. MyOrganized.life. We're back now on Keeping You Organized, talking about how to prepare for an emergency. Sometimes you just don't know what you don't know. And we've got Ellen DeLapp, Certified Professional Organizer, also the president of the National Association of Professional Organizers. Ellen, from the Houston area, just a few blocks away from Hurricane Harvey's really big floodwaters. I know you got impacted in a certain way, but before the break, we started talking about maybe some of those high-level categories of the kinds of documents. Let's go over what are some of the things you know you want to take with you that you can't afford to lose.
Right. Well, the first category is always what I call the vital documents. They're the things that have to do with your birth certificate, Social Security card, passport, so will, and accompanying documents. So those are all legal documents you definitely want to take with you. But you also want to take financial documents, or at least have an access to the financial institution and the name of the person that you work with. You also want to have some documents that have to do with your insurance, the name of your insurance company and the numbers that have to do with that person. You also want to be sure you have one of your taxes. The most recent set of taxes can be very helpful. Surprisingly, when you're applying for aid, sometimes you need to have completed that year's taxes to be able to access the aid you want. And then also a list of contact numbers. Like once you leave your neighborhood, all of us have cell phones. And in this situation, we didn't have wind damage, so we were able to stay in contact by cell phone. But you want to have contacts with people so that you can be sure that everyone stays in touch with each other, especially with your family.
Well, and I know a lot of stuff is available on the cloud, or like your bank account and some of those things, but not everything is really easily accessible. And I do want to put a shout out for that emergency planning kit that we have, because what comes with it is this wheel of organization, which kind of
I love that. It's such a great resource because it tells you specifically what documents you need.
Yes.
And then also gives you the spot to put them so that they're easy for you to carry with you as you leave your home.
Yes. And
definitely an amazing product.
Yeah, and with the kit, which has the different pockets for the different documents, it has the color matching labels as well. So it kind of helps you, gives you at least a head start, but you still have to acquire that stuff together. How would you recommend someone doing that? Or maybe you've done this with some clients now, of just the process of gathering the documents together?
Well, fortunately, if you can't find the documents paper-wise, you can often find them by downloading them. So that's great. But usually what I find is people know where their most important documents are. So we just simply put this all together, which in itself is a wonderful thing, because when you have everything in one place, not only do you feel more safe and secure, but also it's just so much easier to take it with you. So gradually, as I'm going through people's paperwork and I find their bank statement or their financial records, I just start gathering them together. It's easy to purchase this item online, so I usually have people purchase online and have it delivered right to their home, so they don't even need to worry about going to the store to get it.
Right.
So
now, what do you think
a
about
series of baby steps, but it comes together.
Yeah. What do you think about making a backup copy, or so you have the stuff that's maybe in the kit that you take with you? Is it a good idea maybe to make another copy to have in another file, or is that just too much redundancy?
Well, actually, when I talked to my insurance agents, we talked about having a second copy at another person's home. So they definitely agreed with that. The other way is to scan things in to an online cloud account
Okay.
so you can access from anywhere also. But having a paper copy is a very important part of this as well.
Right.
So yes, having a backup's critical.
Yeah. And another thing about, again, maybe in your situation, the internet didn't go down, but sometimes you lose power. And you can't.
Oh, exactly. Most times, we were very fortunate at our home. We actually lost the internet, but we did not lose power.
Yeah.
But we also lost any cable or transmission. So you definitely want to have. There are some backup systems for not only generators, but also some backups for cell phones, powering up your cell phone as well too.
Okay.
So some of those connections are very important for people's safety.
So when you put this together, it might sound a little overwhelming because maybe you have 10 different categories of documents. What's the procedure you'd have someone go through? Would you have them, work a little bit, take a break? I mean, what, from a realistic point of view of people you've worked with, how do you kind of get them, over the fact that this seems so overwhelming because there's so much stuff here?
We definitely eat the elephant one bite at a time,
Yep.
I like to say. So we work in short spurts. We work in 2 or 3 hours, sifting through the papers. A lot of times people have these papers, but they're just in various places in their home because they haven't been able to put them in one place they don't have a home office. They have not been able to keep up with their mail, and some of these things come in the mail. So I often start with just let's make a list. And so I would definitely use the colored wheel you're talking about so we can talk about what are the documents that we need. Sometimes people will remember, oh, I put that here, let's go grab that. So we just work in the smallest steps that make people feel most comfortable so they don't feel overwhelmed. And typically in a couple sessions, we can have this kit put together.
Right. I think that's probably the key because you may also have like a couple things you just can't find. And
Right.
You might need to go somewhere. You might need to go to the bank. You might need to contact somebody to get a copy if for some reason you've lost your copy or can't find it. So I think that's
Exactly.
really good advice. Well, listen, we're about out of time for this episode. I'd like to, there's more I want to talk about on this, but can we bring you back next time and kind of finish this conversation? Because I know there's also the after the emergency and some of the organizing things you have to do with that. So I know we have a lot more to cover. You up for coming back?
Absolutely.
Great. Well,
Definitely. Thank you.
Before we go, just tell people quickly about your firm there, Professional Organizer in the Houston area, and how long were you out of business for a few days, or did you get back up right away when you were working?
So fortunately for me, I was out of business, I would say, for about a week because the current was so strong. There's a bridge on the highway that leads from Kingwood to Houston, and the water moved the barriers, and so we could not access the highway. So for about a week, I mainly worked in Kingwood with my clients. I work with overwhelmed, busy individuals and families who want to make time and space for what's important to them. I am based in Houston, but I do work virtually with clients throughout the country. And if you want to learn more about me, it's professional-organizer.com, and I have a blog as well as some other information on my website.
Well, we're gonna link that in the show notes because we also want to get people to that list too as well of some of the documents that would be important to have. And Ellen, we'll bring you back next time, folks. Don't miss the episode because we're going to continue talking about how to get prepared for the emergency, but also what you do after the emergency hits and some of the cleanup involved. So we'll do that next time on Keeping You Organized.